Hi guys. Okay, it's Sunday, and usually I'd have a great big old video plan and everything else. However, life gets in the way. So I've just finished up doing a shooting video that I'm going to be posting later, like next Friday. And I had to get that done today, and I'm just trying to, work around when it's not so hot. That's one of the biggest things right now. So, I want to do a real quick video and answer a couple of questions. To Mr. Mark, who asked me, now that I've been using the Blackbird for 5 or 6 months, am I still happy with it? Absolutely, I'm very, very happy with it. I'm still carrying my old original prototype, and they're interchangeable, but I do absolutely love it, so that's not a question. He also asked what would be the next knife in the set. Well, since I look at knives as like I talk about everything else in my thing, like a next level coming up, my WC Knives EDC and my WC Knives neck knife are on the low end. That and my Nessie. Those are the small detail jobs. My primary field knife is my Blackbird and this knife. My Center Scout can also double into this area as well. Then when we talk about a bigger, heavier, you're talking about the WC SK. That's a standalone that quite often rides in the bug out bag and things like that, because I'm assuming I ain't got nothing else. This is what I got. Okay. And then a kukri is the top level. After you've climbed out of that, you're getting into tools as far as I'm concerned. A machete is a tool, very good down here in this part of the country, especially when you're going through this really thick stuff. Kukri is my all-time favorite. It's a tool, it's a knife, and it's so useful for digging, for chopping, for splitting, for etc. So that's my go-to in that neck of the woods. And when you climb on up to where you can't handle it with that, you're up in the realm of an axe or a chainsaw. I mean, you've stopped doing woodscraft and you're into construction of some kind. So that's where my thought processes go right now. Once you get below the small knives that I mentioned of the EDC and the things like that, you get into pocket knives. And I've already done a couple of videos on my preference for pocket knives. I'm addicted to pocket knives, guys. I love cutting tools. I love to play with them. It comes from when I was a boy, and I spent so much time whittling with my grandparents and stuff. So like you're seeing here, a lot of times I'll just pick up a stick and start whittling. Not really doing anything. It's something for me to be able to clear my head and focus my thoughts, and it's, I had a friend years ago that smoked a pipe a great deal. And whenever he had some conundrum that he had to work about, he would go get his pipe and he would very deliberately pack it, and he would get all his accoutrements and he'd go out on the deck and he'd sit there and he'd very deliberately and slowly smoke his pipe. That was like a meditation to him. Well, whittling is that way to me. A lot of times I'll just, be sitting there doing it. It's the hard thing not to do at work. I mean, I work like you do a regular job, and a lot of times I'm sitting there and I'm thinking I want to pick up something and start whittling on it, but I can't because I'm at work, So it's my busy hand thing. And I know a lot of people got those kind of hand things. Smokers, they got to have their hands doing something. That's one of the toughest parts whenever they quit smoking, is what do you do with your hands? Because they're so used to having that hand action. And that's true in a lot of the woodscraft, bushcraft. I mean, we get a certain pattern, is the best way to put it, where we get out here and we do certain things. And really a lot of those preconceived ideas are kind of funny when you really sit down and think about it. I was discussing with a young lady, probably 2 weeks ago. We were talking about survival sets and stuff and gear, and she said that what would be my first action if I had got out there and realized I was lost. Would I immediately start building a debris shelter or whatever, because sun setting and everything else? I said, the first thing I do would be sit down and think. I'd pick up a stick and start whittling. I need to clear my thoughts. I need to mentally calm down, focus. Where did I go wrong? Did I make a turn that I shouldn't have? In my mind, replay what I did and where I went to. If the sun's gone and I ain't getting out here and I know it, then it's time to make the next step. I can make my shelter in the dark, okay? I carry my little shelter set in my haversack and my other bags like we've already talked about. So you know I got a hammock, you know I got a tarp, and I got a basic right there. So I wasn't planning on camping, but I got gear. After I have sat down, calmed down, and decided, all right, I'm not getting out of here tonight. I got to wait for daylight. Quickly pick my little campsite, go ahead, gather my firewood as much as I can, get everything set up. And then like I talked in my earlier video, I'm going to utilize the time that night because I'm going to be comfortable. I should have water or some access to water along in here. I rarely ever hike when I don't have a canteen on me, and if I do, it's a very short hike in a very known location. So there'll be a canteen on me somewhere. And so I've got water, I've got my basics, and I probably got some sort of little snacks thrown in that bag. So I'm going to be okay till morning. I'll set up my poncho, set up my hammock, get my fire going, get my firewood laid in. And then during the night, like I talked about, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to listen. Especially after like 10 o'clock or so, or 9 o'clock, depending on where you're at, when everything kind of quiets down, you know, and I can hear road traffic that way or over here, or I hear a lot of aircraft back that way coming and going, and I'm going to make sticks I'm going to stick in the ground to give me a pointer to that, because if I've just got to walk my way out tomorrow, hearing traffic that way probably means there's a highway that way or a road. If it's constant traffic, it's probably a major highway. If it's occasionally I hear traffic, it's probably a secondary road. But there's a road that way, probably within 1 or 2 miles of me, otherwise I couldn't hear it. So see, I'm expanding my area of awareness. So in the morning when I get up, I don't have to go, which way was that? Because it was dark. You know, which way was I hearing it? I stuck sticks in the ground. I just sharpen up a stick and I'm going that way, straight. I stab it in the ground. In the morning, I got 6 or 7 sticks right there. That's a pretty good way out. You know, I will pull out my little emergency compass, shoot a bearing, and walk in that direction till I come up to that road, and then make my way back from there. Okay? That's my mindset for getting unlost, so to speak. You're not really lost. You're just kind of, like Daniel Boone said, I'm not lost. I'm just kind of confused for a day or two. Okay? I know where I was if I had taken the time before I went there. If it's someplace I've never been before, I've got a map and a compass. If it's someplace I've been before, but I've got in here and got turned around, I still know what the box is. I know that north of us is this agricultural, west of us is a river, south of us is this. I just got to walk to one of them landmarks and get out of here, because once I get there, I'm confused. I know where I'm at. Might be a long walk, but I know where I'm at. And out in the greater western part of the United States, where you just have, mountains and mountains and mountains and mountains, navigation becomes all the more important. And then you really got to know what you're doing. You can't risk figuring out where you ain't, because once you get confused out there, the way those ridges and all will funnel you back. Even trying to walk in a straight line may not be possible because of the topography. You may come up and it's a cliff, and then you got to work your way around. So that kind of terrain is going to be more difficult than what I'm talking about. Likewise, a friend of mine that he lives in Kansas now talks about if the dog gets loose, you can watch him run for 2 days, because there's nothing there. It's flat. He goes up on his 3rd story deck and just gets there with binoculars and start looking. He said, I spotted him over a mile away before. You just go get him. You have to take into account a lot of the topography. So to answer that young lady's question, what would be my first action? Sit down and think. Try to reason it out and then prepare. I should have with me what I need to at least be uncomfortable camping for the night. I know I got that with me. Okay, then the last thing I'd like to talk about, I had a young man ask me, he said, is it really necessary to carry a firearm? Okay, this is a touchy subject to a lot of people. And my opinion is this: if you feel comfortable with firearms and you're in a situation where you may require such a device, yes, absolutely. But if you are uncomfortable with firearms and you're going to be in apparent situations where they're not going to be absolutely a real need, then you can go without it. You know, get you a good heavy walking stick. You know, something that you can use if it's a snake, whatever, you got to move out of the way, or that you have a wild dog, you got to keep at a distance, or something like that. Absolutely, it is not. But now down here in my south, where we've got so many critters in the woods that'll bite you, and it's so thick you can't see very far. Now we have large Russian boar down here that go up to 1,000 pounds with 10-inch tusks. The biggest alligator in the world was killed here in my Alabama. It was nearly 20 feet long and 2,000 pounds. So around water, you run the risk of running into some of these big gators. Then you got other creatures down here as well. So therefore, it kind of makes sense for me to carry something, especially for snakes. I live in a part of the country that has all the poisonous snakes, all the venomous snakes, excuse me. All the venomous snakes. I mean, we got all the copperhead, you got the moccasins, you got the rattlers, you got all these families. And so it just makes sense, because in this thick cover, if I'm going through and suddenly it's like, it's right there, I can't easily get away a lot of times. You're in such a thicket that you can't just jump left or right. You know, you're kind of pinned, and so you've got to have something you can defend yourself with, because the animal's just doing its job. You know, I'm not angry at the animal, I'm going to avoid this at all costs. But at the same time, if it's a choice between me getting envenomated and have to spend, you know, $40,000, $50,000 medical bill to get antivenom and everything else, bye-bye. You know, because I don't want to be hurt and I don't want to have to hurt anything. So that'd be my response to the firearm question. No, you don't have to. What firearm did I recommend? Because they said, what would you recommend? Single shot shotgun is my favorite of all time as a woods gun. And I've shown mine many times with it's a short barrel, youth size 20 gauge with a full length stock on it that H&R used to build, one of the partner models. And I put a sling on it. I've got chamber inserts for it in 9mm and 38. So I have multiple uses of it, see. And as a woods tool, a survival tool, a hunting tool, it's extremely robust. It's just about bulletproof and indestructible. If I fall down in the absolute mud, I can just hose it out in the water and shake it and it'll go back to working. You know, I have seen some just abused, unbelievable, and kept working. And it's not a aggressive weapon. You know, if I'm walking around with a big semi-automatic something, that seems more aggressive to a lot of people. And you're not just thinking you're going to have to take a shot, you're going to take a lot of shots. Usually one shot from a 12 or a 20 will take care of about any of my problems at 0 to 40 yards. So that's my thought on it. The single shot shotgun, by far. Well, I think that's rambling on enough, guys. Thank you for listening. And I'll have more videos coming for my Down and Dirty Woodscraft Tuesday. I've got another video coming up on Thursday, and I've got my shooting videos for the Percussion Revolver series coming, where I'm kind of jamming in a little bit here. I've got the 1860 Army I'm going to be antiquing, and a lot of people are asking, where's that? That's coming. I'm doing one a week, and so when I get the ones like the shooting video I did today for the 61 Navy and doing the Kato Ojama bullet and doing the Era's Gone Richmond bullet head to head, I got to have someplace to put it. So we're going to get there, guys. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. And until next time, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.